everyone. Lauren Goode for Wired here at the Steve Jobs Theater in Cupertino, where Apple just wrapped up another hardware event. We saw 3 new iPhones. We saw the iPhone XS, which is an update to last year's 10. We saw the iPhone XS Max, which has a giant display, and the iPhone XR. Let's go take a look at a couple of the phones. This is the iPhone XS, and this is the iPhone XS Max. Inevitably, people are going to be calling these the iPhone X. I don't blame you. As I've been walking around, I've been saying X and R and S and all kinds of things, but they are the iPhone XS line of phones. Down there, there's also an iPhone XR phone, which we don't have right now, but I've got a lot of phones here to show you. Let's start with the new iPhone XS. It doesn't look really any different from last year's phone. In fact, I have it here. Thank you for holding that. This is last year's phone. As you can see here, this is this year's phone. This does come in new colors. It comes in gold, which it didn't ship in before. It does have strengthened glass, so it's supposed to be the most durable glass ever on an iPhone, which you're probably going to need because I've dropped a couple of these and they do shatter and scratch. It also has a new IP68 waterproof and dustproof rating, so if you drop it in the pool, you can leave it in the pool a little bit longer and maybe it won't get damaged. But one of the most interesting things about the new XS is its new chip. So Apple has updated last year's A11 Bionic processor to, you guessed it, the A12 Bionic processor. It's a super duper high-powered mobile phone chip. It's a 7 nanometer chip, which I believe Apple is the first to ship this kind of mobile chip before. Qualcomm has said it's going to do it, but it hasn't shipped yet. Qualcomm, of course, powers a lot of the high-end Android phones. So this is a great chip in this phone as far as we know right now. And a lot of what this is doing is it's enabling things like machine learning and just faster processing. I mean, it's really kind of powering everything in the phone. It's making photos better. It's supposed to make the battery life a little bit better. So that's one of the things that Apple really got in the weeds about today at the event. And for a lot of people, maybe they won't care so much, but it is one of the internal upgrades to the phone that makes it different from last year's phone. The XS Max phone has a lot of the same internal changes, internal updates as the XS, but this one is obviously huge. If you were to compare it to last year's 8 Plus phone, which I have right here, you can see that these are pretty much the same size. This one, unfortunately, I shattered, but this one now has a 6.5-inch diagonal display. So it has much more display. There are almost no bezels here. That also means, of course, there's no longer a home button. It has the notch here. That's where the Face ID, front-facing camera live. Both of these support Face ID, both support 3D touch, both have a True Tone display, both have the same improvements in the cameras. That includes now you can add a little bokeh effect, adjust the depth on your portrait photos. I mean, it has something called Smart HDR, which is supposed to have 0 shutter lag. Once again, all of this is stuff that isn't exactly revolutionary in terms of what new iPhones have been, what new iPhones can be. They're more evolutionary, but that's kind of what you expect from an S tier of iPhones. This is the new iPhone XR. One of the biggest differences is that this feels like an older iPhone. It's got a 6.1-inch diagonal display compared to the 5.8-inch display on the iPhone XS and the 6.5-inch display on the iPhone XS Max. Ooh, that's a mouthful. This is also an LCD display. The other ones have OLED displays, and this has an aluminum band around it rather than a stainless steel band. So it feels a little bit different than the iPhone X and the iPhone XS, but it has the same true depth sensor up here, so it uses Face ID. No home button, so RIP home button. It has the same 12 megapixel rear facing camera. And it also has the same A12 Bionic chip that's in the other phones. Overall, I have to say I like this color. It's really nice and bright. There are also coral phones. There's a blue phone. There's a red phone. They do look really nice. This is not the first time that Apple has done candy-colored iPhones. You might remember the iPhone 5C, which came out, might have been 2013 at this point. But those were plasticky and they didn't look so nice. And this is glass and it looks pretty nice. And because this one's a little bit cheaper than the other phones, I could picture a lot of people being into this one. So that's the iPhone XS, XS Max, and XR. 2 of them go on sale next week. The XR isn't going to start shipping until sometime in October, and they're all going to cost you. But the XS is the same price as last year's 10, starts at $999 for a 64 gigabyte configuration of the phone, and the XS Max is really expensive. It starts at $1,099. So we have officially entered the era of the $1,100 smartphone. Is it worth it? We don't know yet. We haven't had the chance to test that, but we're certainly going to. So be sure to come right back to Wired. We'll have all the information you need.